Speak of Emma Smart, the Insulate Britain activist, just released within the last few minutes, I understand, from Bronzefield Jail. She spent 2 months of a 4-month sentence and spent 26, was it 26 days on hunger strike? Let's ask her now. I think she joins me. Emma Smart, thank you for finding time. Is it right, you've just come out, was it 26 days that you spent on hunger strike, and why do you feel this so keenly? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Yes, I've just walked out of Bronzefield Prison now, and the first 26 days of my sentence, I was on hunger strike.
What persuaded you to take solids or liquids or whatever it was?
After that period of time, I felt that I had made my point. 26 days was a long time. My MP had agreed to come and see me and speak to me in prison, which is something that I wanted. And also that was long enough. My family were worried about me, and I was well aware that I was better off for the cause, healthy and walking out here ready to continue fighting for justice. So yeah, that's why that. And also the 26 days I felt represented the 26 years of failure of COP. Okay. COP 26 at the end of last year, our government failing once again to protect citizens of this country.
Well, I'm very glad you came to that decision, and I'm grateful for your time, and I'm pleased that I'm able to speak to you. You were jailed back in November. You took part of one of those protests on the M25.
That's right.
Has your time in jail persuaded you not to do it again, or will you go back to your protests?
Absolutely not. If anything, my time in jail has just increased my resolve and increased my determination. I'm aware that during our time in prison, Boris Johnson hasn't made a meaningful statement on insulating Britain, and so our demands still stand. The crisis is still here. 8,500 people are still dying every year from cold and damp homes, and now we have the added crisis of fuel and people not being able to pay their energy bills. So if anything, the situation is worse coming out of prison. So absolutely, I will continue.
How would you characterize your time spent in jail?
It was a time to really reflect and think about what I was doing and why I was doing it. It was a time to speak to people also. If anything represents the broken society in which we live, it's a lot of these women who are in prison. It was an opportunity for me to meet people, to speak about what they were frightened of, what affects their lives. And that was good for me, you know, to step outside of my own echo chamber and to really hear what people felt. And people are very supportive inside prison of what we're doing. Everyone I spoke to knew somebody within their community who couldn't afford their heating or struggled with their food bills. So actually my time in prison was very productive. I used it.
When you say everyone was supportive, how did they make their support known?
They were all aware of the protest. They knew what our message was and what we were demanding. They would come up to me and congratulate me on what I'd done. Lots of people were horrified that we had been imprisoned, that peaceful protesters had been given sentences. They were shocked. That's both officers, prisoners here, and medical staff, nurses, doctors, thought it was an absolute assault on our democracy and that I shouldn't have been there. But they were all supportive. I was surprised and very grateful to the support I received in prison.
Many would say you've displayed bravery in the actions you've done. In November, I recall you said you were terrified of being arrested. Now that you have been arrested, convicted, sentenced and indeed imprisoned, are you more or less likely to block a road such as the M25 again?
I would not like to say never. I am very determined to continue protesting. We know that what we did on the M25 was incredibly effective. It got hold of the media. People in this country were aware of the issue, and unfortunately it's those kind of disruptive protests, peaceful protests, that are required in crises like this. So I don't know what the plan is. Obviously, I've been out of contact for the last couple of months, so I don't know what direction the campaign will now take, but I will be absolutely with them, whatever it takes. And being in prison has not put me off acting. Being arrested has not put me off acting. My terror lies purely with the inaction of this government.
You're ready to go to jail again, are you, Emma?
Absolutely. If that's what it takes, I'm not going to stop telling the truth. I'm not going to stand up for those people who deserve better. I'm not going to stand up, stop to become a bystander and allow this government inaction and failure to continue. While our government are betraying us and betraying the people of Britain, I will continue to stand up for them. And if that means further arrest, further prison, then I'm willing to face that.
To those who say people like you, they need, quotes, proper terms, that is to say perhaps 12 months in jail, 18 months, would that deter you?
It's something I wouldn't particularly relish, but again, I mean, we should be asking ourselves, should it be a crime to care? You know, I'm not doing this for selfish reasons. I'm doing this to protect people. And so should it be a crime to care? And I think the answer is absolutely not. You know, maybe the government should start taking these issues seriously. It is their job to protect the people of this country. And while 8,500 are dying every year, they are clearly failing in their job.
Might I ask about employment? Are you able
Yes.
to go back to your job as a biologist?
So I work as part of environmental campaigns, which I can go back to.
Right.
Yes, but I mean, certainly a criminal record is going to impact my future and the options available to me. But we simply don't have a future with this government, who are failing us not on just the fuel crisis, but the climate crisis also. And while I don't have a future, my nieces, who are 5 and 7, certainly don't have a future. So it's my responsibility, my duty to act. And it's a shame our government do not feel that same responsibility and that same duty.
Couple of last questions. You became, as I'm sure you're aware, a cause célèbre. One newspaper pointed out that some years ago, I think you drove a 4x4 halfway around the world through 50 countries, which obviously consumed quite a lot of diesel or petrol, whatever it was.
Yes,
I need to put that to you. That it seems perhaps rather hypocritical then to have done that if you believe in saving the planet. Emma Smart.
Sure, we're all hypocrites. Yes, I drove a car. This was, I think, 12 years ago we set off. At the time of setting off, I wrote a blog. I calculated the amount of carbon that we would emit through travelling in our vehicle and living in our vehicle compared to living in a house, and we actually produced much less carbon. I was, as an environmentalist, very aware of this. It's just a shame that the media have focused on this trip in my car rather than my life's work as a scientist, as an ecologist, as an activist. But we are all hypocrites. I think we need to stop asking ourselves, if I fly, if I eat meat, if I do this, I shouldn't be able to protest, and that's absolutely not the case.
Lastly,
we all have a duty.
What's the first thing, you now are a free woman, what's the first thing you have planned, Emma?
I am very much looking forward to seeing my nieces, picking them up from school later. I should probably be having a pint later, and enjoying seeing family and friends again.
Well, I don't think. I'm so glad you took the decision to stop your hunger strike and we were able to have this conversation. Thank you for your time. I don't necessarily support all your actions, but I'm delighted to see that you are out safe at last. Emma Smart.